everyone, and welcome to my very first TouchDesigner tutorial. My name is Laura Alice, and I am a artist that has been working in the kind of animation new media space for a few years, and I'm here to introduce you to this new little amoeba alien watery kind of creature using TouchDesigner and the new pops operator. This is a beginner friendly tutorial, so I'll be taking my time to explain things as I go along, and I'll be taking my time to show you each individual step, and I hope that this is the first of many tutorials. And if you like my tutorial, feel free to subscribe. And if you would just like the toe file, that is available in my Patreon. Okay, so as you can see here on my screen, we have got this watery, fuzzy, magical kind of amoeba. I was imagining it to be kind of like a sea creature from Europa, which is the one of Jupiter's moons. If you can see, have a bit of a thing for the moons of Jupiter, and I have been following the Europa Clipper very closely, which is the watery, icy moon, on which they're looking for the possibility or the building blocks of life. Anyway, let's not get into that too much. We are here in TouchDesigner. We have got the experimental build as of 2025, which has got the new pops operator. I will make sure the link is down below so that you can make sure you have the correct TouchDesigner build. And yeah, let's get started. I'll start by deleting this and starting from scratch. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is going to click tab, which is going to bring up our menu, and as you can see along the top, there's different colored tabs that represent different operators. So we're going to go over to the pop, and we're going to start with a sphere, which is going to be the basis for our mesh. All right, so we're going to go down to sphere. You could also go over here and type, but I'm just going to go down, click on it, and that's going to be our first little guy. All right, so what we want to do, because So what we want to do is, in my original one, I kind of wanted mine to have a bit of a caterpillar vibe, so it's kind of long and skinny. So we're going to go with that shape, but you can actually change the shape as you go along, tweak it to whatever you like. I have done like a jellyfish shape as well. They look really cute when they're round as well. But for today, we're going to stick with this kind of caterpillar, wormy kind of thing. So we're going to click. And over here on this side, you can see that we can change the specific parameters of our sphere. And we're going to make it small and sort of skinny. So we're going to go over to the radius, and it's going to be 0.2, 0.9, and 0.2. Okay, excellent. We're going to go down to the frequency, and I'm going to put mine up to 100, and that's going to give us lots of points to work with, which is going to be a really good basis for when we want that really fuzzy look. You might, depending on what build you have, you could go up or down as far as your computer goes. I haven't tested it on another computer, but if you find that it's running really slow, you can go down a little bit on the frequency. Everything else we're going to keep the same for now. And we're also just going to copy and paste, which is just Control C, Control V. So we've now got two. So starting from our top sphere, we're going to go to this purple section here, and we're going to right click and pull, and that's going to create a thread that will connect to our next box. So we're going to right click and pull, and then click tab, and then we're going to go and create again in the pop, which is the bright blue. Going to go down to a noise, and what a noise does, it's like a random generator, and it's going to deform our sphere, and we're going to make it deform over time so that we can get those kind of beautiful flowy movements that we like. And over here you can see the different parameters of our noise, so I'll walk you through them. We're going to so the noise lookup attribute is going to stay at P, the type is going to stay at simplex 40, the noise size scalar, that'll stay the same. I'm just putting my seed up to 6, period 1.74, harmonics 8, 8. Harmonic spread is going to stay at 2. Harmonic gain is 0.262. Amplitude is going to be 0.411, and exponent 1.23. So if you want to come back and play around with this noise later, once you've finished your creation, that will drastically change the look of your creation. But we'll keep it as is for now. And the other thing we're going to go over to is to our output, and no, we're going to go to map. And using the mapping section, we're actually going to take our second sphere and we're going to drop it over to the OP. And that's going to be P0 parameter offset. Okay. And then we're going to go back to our secondary noise mapping sphere, and we are going to change that to be quite a bit smaller. So we're going to keep the frequency as is, but the scale is going to be 0.035. The radius will be 0.1, 1, and 0.1. Okay. Everything else is going to stay the same for now. And then on our noise, what we're going to do is we're going to do a transform, and what that's going to do is actually just make it keep on moving over time. So we go to transform, and we're going to translate 40. This is pretty good way to do it. We just click here, and we're going to write a little expression, which I'll put up on the screen, but it's abs, capital T for time, abs time, dot seconds, times 0.2. And when you click enter, you will find that our sphere is slowly deforming over time, which is exactly what we want to create that beautiful, like watery, undulating kind of movement, which I particularly like. Okay, so now that we've got that, next step is we are going to start using some of the fun new pops kind of things that we can play with, which is going to make it start looking quite interesting and cool. So back on our noise and moving from our noise in this purple area, we're going to right click and pull to create the thread. click Tab to bring up our operators, and we're going to stay on the pops. And for the first one, we're going to click Extrude. So we're going to go down to Extrude, okay? And if you zoom in, you can see that this has created this fuzzy extrusion out of each point, which is going to be fantastic because we really want that cool, like fuzzy kind of thing going on. So so we're actually going to make two. So now that we've got one, I'm going to change it a bit and then copy and paste it. So on this one, we're going to go, the distance we're going down, and we're going to go down to 1.62. Okay, and that'll just make it a little bit less bumpy. And the offset will be -1. Okay. Nice. Oh, okay, that's why I got it. So it's 0.162, not 0.6. Ah, that's better. Perfect. Okay. So that's our first extrude. Looking pretty goopy. We like it. Excellent. So we're going to copy paste this extrude. Pull them up. Now the second extrude is just going to be it's just going to be slightly offset. So it's going to be, what we're trying to do is create the illusion of depth, which is what going to create that iridescent look with slightly different colors and slightly different lengths. So on our second extrude, our distance is actually going to be 1.28. And the inset is going to be -0.71. Okay, and then we have a very similar looking extrude creature that's just slightly inset from our first one. Okay, so that's all looking excellent. There are two fuzzies, and the next one we're going to use another pops operator, which is called the trail. And this is actually pretty exciting, this one. I rather like it. So we're going to right click, pull, tab, and go over to trail. There he is. So with this trail, you can see it creates this really amazing, these little trails on each line, which is really, really useful actually, and really cool. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to make the trail length smaller. So we're going to go 0.63. The trail increment very small, 0.09. Okay. And everything else is going to stay the same. Okay, beautiful. Just double check. Yep, okay, excellent. So now we've got two extrudes and a trail. And the last thing that we're going to do to build our creature is we're going to use a sprinkle. And the sprinkle's going to be kind of cool because then you get these beautiful dots. So on my original creature, you have a handful of like disappearing phosphorescent sparkly dots, which yeah, I'm just like really interested in bioluminescence and phosphorescence, and I find these things keep on popping up in my art. So we're going to use the sprinkle to create that. Okay, and as you can see when you zoom in, that has created this like really cool you know, little dots that are moving in time to our noise, which is quite beautiful to look at actually. I really enjoy that aesthetic. But we're not going to have many of these sparkles because I wanted it to be a subtle aspect of our creature. Its default is 10,000, but we're going to go all the way down to about 687. And there we go, much less. Everything else stays the same. Beautiful. Okay, so we've now got 4 different variations of our noisy sphere thing. So now we're going to add some color and some texture to each one, and kind of what I want to do is actually kind of create so because I want that iridescent look, each color will be slightly different and on the same kind of color spectrum, so that it looks like it's shifting color subtly under the light, which is what I am going for. So I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but this is the way I've done it. So if anyone knows a better way, please let me know. I'm going to right click and pull, click tab, and go with lookup texture. And I'm going to do that for each one. Pull, lookup texture, right click, pull, tab, lookup texture, right click, pull, tab, lookup texture. Okay. Okay, the sprinkle doesn't need one. Okay, so we are now going to create a ramp for each of these. So I'm going to click tab, and I'm going to go over to top, and I'm going to use a top ramp. Again, I'm sure there's a better way to do this. So, but let's just roll with it. There we are, ramp. Okay, so on this ramp, I'm going to start with like a blue color. So I'm going to go vertical, and that's all good. And then with the common, my resolution is going to be 101, and the color that's on my ramp, so I want this like kind of rich blue tone. Let's go with 221, saturation 1. I like the saturation to be high. Value 0.71, alpha 1. Okay. Okay. Now we've got this color which we like, and I'm going to copy and paste this 3 times. 2 times, so we have 3. And each lookup texture is going to have a ramp. I'm going to organize that. Yeah, that'll do for now. Okay, so we've got one that's blue. The second ramp I would like to be a kind of purplier blue, or purple blue. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go 261, 0.71. Okay, that's good. So we've got blue, we've got a purplier blue, purplier. And then the last one is going to be like a magenta color. Magenta. Which will be 287, 1.71. Of course, you can do this all your own colors. These just happen to be my favorite palette. Okay, so now we've got our 3 colors, and we're going to just click and drag them over for each one. Boom. So now when you've done that, you'll see this little arrow pointing to it. You know that that has been done correctly, as well as if you go on your lookup texture and you go to your top, you'll see that each one has got the different ramp there. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so let's go ahead and make Geos and set up our render. So for those of you who are new to TouchDesigner, you get to a point with your systems where you create a render. So that means that you're taking all of your information and then turning it into an image. So we're going to go start with some geos. So we're going to go tab, go over to comp, and along here you'll find geometry. And we're going to create one for each. So we're going to just copy paste them, and one for our sprinkle as well. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, hang on. Silly me. Delete them. Instead, we're going to go over here, and we're going to pull, right click, pull, and click tab, and then do that instead. Okay, that's better. I'm going to do that for each one. Right click, pull, tab, down to geometry. Excellent. Right click, tab, geometry, and one for our sprinkle. Tab, comp, geometry. Okay. And then the next step is to create our render top. So we're going to go tab, and we're going to go to top, which is the purple one. And then we're going to go down to render. And when we click render, you'll see that each one of our geos is getting sent to our render, which is turning our information into an image. Then we click tab, comp, we want a light, but for this one, I'm going to create an environment light. And this will give us a slightly different look, because with an environment light, you can put an image onto your light, which will help create that iridescent look, which we're going for. So I'm going to go with environment light, and we'll add the image in a minute. We need a camera. So we're going to go tab, comp, camera. And then we're going to right click and pull and create a null. I'll put the null over here so we've got a bit of space. Alrighty. So as you can see in our render, we've got our shape. We haven't assigned any materials to our creature yet. So that's what we're going to do next. And that way we'll be able to say to the render, when you're making this, this is the material I would like you to use. And so we're going to create a PBR. So we're going to right click tab, and we're going to use the yellow material map for material and go to the PBR. Okay, so the two extrudes and the trail, their PBRs are going to be similar. So we're going to create three the same and then just change them slightly. With the first PBR, we want the base color. I'm just going to make it blue-ish, light blue. Specular level, everything's going to stay the same except for roughness. And I'm going to bring the roughness down to about 0.194 to create this shiny color. Everything else stays the same, I believe. Okay, beautiful. The second PBR, the roughness will go down to 0.035, and the final PBR roughness will be 0.194. Okay, so now we're going to drag the first PBR onto our first geo. When we drag it, it'll give us the option to click material. So we're going to do that. Second PBR will go on our second one, and the third will go on the third one, and then our sprinkle, the PBR is going to be, just create another PBR for our sprinkle. And this one I just want it to be emitting this kind of bright blue, bluey green kind of color. And then, perfect. Okay, so let me just pull that on, material. Nice. Okay, I'm going to change that to a slightly bluer tone, less green. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Beautiful. One more thing with our sprinkle geo is that because I want it to just moving slightly offset in time to the rest of my creature, so that the lights just kind of appear and then disappear rather than just being there the whole time. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that I'll get that effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the scale down on the Y to 0.7 just to make it a bit shorter, because I want it to I want the sprinkles to kind of come out of the midsection, like almost like it's breathing kind of vibes. And then uniform scale, I'm going up to, so that perfect. Alrighty. Okay, so here we go. Here's our guys, all looking different. Oh, there's one thing I forgot with the lookup texture. So what we're going to do is for each lookup texture, we want to go output attribute scope, click on there and go down to color. For each one, 1, 2, 3, color. Beautiful. And then that way we'll get each color coming through on each shape. So we've got a blue, a purpley blue, and a magenta. If we have a look at our camera, you can see something exciting is starting to come together here, which is great. But with our render, it's still black, and that's because we haven't fixed our light properly yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our environment light, and we're going to use an image to create an environment map. And that is what is going to give us that lovely, it creates a world for our creature to reflect, basically. So we're going to go over to environment map and click, oh, no, we're not. We're going to click tab and go to top, and we're going to go movie file in, and we're going to just add a picture that we want to use as our reflection. So the one that I'm going to use is if you click on the plus button here, you'll see that there's some images here that you can use. You can also upload something from your own or generate something or whatever. I think that this one, the Palace of Fine Arts, which is in the derivative samples map section, is perfect for what we want to create. As you can see, it's kind of got all these windows, so it creates a really interesting texture to our shapes. We're going to click and drag that and click, environment map, and that is now pointing to that. So now we have got, hooray, something showing in our render, which is very exciting. Cool. So from here on, we can just sort of play around with it until it looks pretty. So I'm rendering mine. I'm doing a kind of social media shape, which is kind of the way of things in this world, is it not? But you can do whatever shape you like. So in the render section, I'm going over to the common tab and choosing a resolution that fits my purpose. So it's kind of far away, so I'm going to go over to my camera and click on this little cross button, and I'm going to scroll the middle scroller to zoom in until it's filling my screen. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how that's looking. You can move your light around a little bit. I'm going to leave it for now. Yeah, okay, that's a good place to be right now. I'm going to click the blue round circle on my null, and now we can start to create the aesthetic that we want for our scene. So we have got, hooray, we've created our little caterpillar. He's looking cool and iridescent. He's very purple. So what you can do at this stage, if you want to, is you can change your ramps here. You can change the color to match what you would like it to look like. So if you wanted to add a little bit more green, I feel like that looks cool, a little bit of green. Maybe if I up that a little bit. Okay, I like that. Like that, that's good. Now with that PBR, I think I might want a little bit higher roughness. Just want to get rid of some of that, like, because our environment light has got lots of browns in it. If I just bring the roughness down a little bit, if I bring the roughness up a little bit, I'll get slightly less of that brown color, which I don't want as much of. Okay, all right, that's looking pretty good for now. So next, I'm going to create a radial blur to go underneath. So I'm going to right click and pull and click. Actually, no. So what I'm going to do is go to image filters, and I'm going to go down to this radial blur. So radial blur, I quite enjoy using radial blur, especially with this kind of thing. I'm going to connect that to my render. So it creates this really nice blur that goes out into different outward shapes. And we're going to use that to create like the feeling of light going through water when it kind of creates those kind of like columns of light. So we're going to try and create a little bit of that feeling. The center point is going to be 0.5, 0.5. Lovely. I'm going to bring this, the strength is going to be 0.44, and that will get that really strong radial blur feeling. Cool. I'm going to bring down the dry wet mix a little bit to about 0.7. And then I'm going to create a comp in here. So what you can do is if you click on, if you hover on one of these purple lines, you can see it turns yellow, which means that you can do stuff to that line. So we're going to hover on it and right click, click insert operator, and we're going to go over to composite. And composite, when you do that, it says, no, I'm angry. You need to give me another guy. So you've got to connect 2 or more. So I'm going to click and pull and connect that guy in there. And what I want is I want the operation to be add. Lovely. And that has created the vibe that I want. It's also added a nice kind of luminosity to it, which I'm happy with. Beautiful. Okay, so that is the basis of our creature. I'm going to add a background, but first let's add black background. So I'm going to do what I showed you before. I'm going to hover on the yellow, on the line till it turns yellow. I'm going to click Insert Operator. I'm going to go down to Transform. And then over here, background color, 0, 0, 0, 0. I want this last one to be 1. And then I'm going to click Comp over background color. Boop. Okay. So as you can see, our creature is looking pretty good. But let's make an interesting background. So what I'm going to do is I just want to bring a little bit more, I guess, brightness contrast into our picture. So I'm going to right click, Insert Operator. I'm going to go with a level. Okay, I'm just going to bump up the black level just a very tiny bit, just a little bit. I'm going to go 0.02, just a little bit of contrast. And the brightness I will also bump up a little bit. And then the contrast itself, also just a little bit. I don't want too much. I don't want it to be too crunchy, but I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to add a background. Now this is so we're going to do a feedback loop. So this is going to be a big part of your TouchDesigner journey is creating feedback loops. There's lots of really great tutorials about feedback loops, and it's a way that you can create a lot of really interesting and beautiful effects in TouchDesigner. And so this one was inspired by, if you ever follow VJ, his tutorials are fantastic, and he recently did a tutorial about the pops with particles, and he created a beautiful background that really helped me start thinking a little bit outside of my black void background TouchDesigner kind of thing, it's been really helpful. So I've been playing around with backgrounds a bit more. So this is my background offering. So I'm going to create another line underneath our main line by right click and pull and then click tab. I'm going to start with a null. Okay, and then I'm going to right click, pull, tab, feedback. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add things after our feedback, which will make the image really interesting. So first we're going to, so I've really become quite enamored with lens distorts. So I'm going to be using lens distorts to create our background. So I'm going to right click and pull, and I'm going to click tab, lens, distort, and I'm going to have 2 of them. Now, in the top one, basically I recommend just playing around with it, with each one until you're happy with how they look. But so zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. So on the top one, I'm going down on the K1 to about, that, down a little bit on the K2, up quite a bit on the P1. You can see it creates this really crazy distortion, and a little bit down on the P2, maybe like that, down, maybe there, that's good. Yeah, and then on the other one, I'm going to go up the K1, right up the K2, right down with the P1, a little bit down, oops, a little bit down with the P2, okay, nice. And I'm going to click Invert Distortion from the second one to create this cool effect. I'm going to comp these together using an add. So I'm going to right click and pull, tab, add, and then pull this one and click that into the bottom one. So now that has created this cool mashup thing happening. Excellent. Pull these along a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add, after this, I'm going to go over to image filters. I'm going to go add a RGBA delay. I'm going to plug that in. And on my RGBA delay, yeah, I'll just keep all that, but I'm happy with that. I'm going to go to a transform. My transform, I'm going to, essentially what I'm doing is I'm just trying to scale in a bit, see, to create like a background that fills the back. So I'm going to translate it a little bit, -0.3, -0.1, and that is just kind of filling the background a little bit better, which looks good. What else can we do to make our background trippy? Okay, and then the last step I'm going to do for my background is create a displace. So I'm going to right click and pull, tab, and I'm going to go to displace top. And I'm going to displace the image with itself. So I'm going to drag this into both outputs, and as you can see, that goes really crazy. The displace weight is going to be very low because I don't want it to be too psychedelic. So the displace weight here is going to be 0.08, and great, that looks pretty good. And then we're going to go to a level. Level, and with the level we are going to bring the opacity down a bit, so we're going to go to post, and the opacity we want it to be like, I'm going to go with like 0.3. Okay, so the final step to our feedback loop is to bring everything back into the feedback and have it constantly feeding into itself. So we're going to go on the yellow line, we're going to right click, insert operator, and we're going to use an over for this one. And that's going to bring both images in together. I'm going to right click, pull, and connect this to the back. All right, and you can see that the background's not moving yet because we haven't completed our feedback loop. So I'm going to go down here and pause it. Excuse me, and I'm going to pull my over to my feedback, and then I'm going to press play. Okay, and as you can see, that doing that has created this really shimmery, watery background for our creature, which we can play around with more if we want. You know, we can zoom in more by going up on the scale to create wider shapes. We can bring the level up if you want to see it more. You want it to be a little bit brighter. If you wanted to add a blur, you could add a blur in there as well. Also, something I like to do sometimes is to actually animate my lens distorts. I'm not going to do that today, but let's bring that down a little bit. From here you can tweak it as you wish. Some things that you can change, you can change the original shape of your creature. If you go to your sphere and you make it back to circular, it will do some weird stuff. But you can create a circular guy. You can change the noise. You can really muck around with that noise and make it do some weird stuff. You can make it very strange, very psychedelic. If you like that, you can make it very fuzzy with the harmonic spread. If you like that electric look. Well, it's very fun to play around with it, depending on how crazy and trippy you want your creation to be. But there we have it, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my first tutorial, and good luck, and I'll see you again next time.